Welcome to Schema Therapy Case Studies. The next story is one of many case studies that will be included in this course. As the course progresses, more case studies will be added, and you will be able to see and hear real-life applications of how schemas develop, play out, and are changed. As you listen to the various stories, try to make the connection to which schema the individual is suffering from before the narrator reveals it. While each story will be unique, also see if you can see some part of yourself in any of them. What behaviors or schemas do you have that resembles the individuals featured here? Please note and keep in mind that the following case studies are fictitious representations of what and how individuals may experience schemas. No two people who have the same schema will look the same or have the same upbringing, behaviors, or coping modes. Now meet Saniya.
Saniya watched her mother sacrifice her own needs for the sake of the family. Her mother had dreams of becoming a school teacher but dropped out of college when she had Saniya and her siblings. When Saniya's dad left, the family's world was turned upside down. Her mother sunk into a severe depression and started drinking. Her mother spent an enormous amount of time in her room and was unable to handle many of the daily responsibilities. As a result, Saniya had to step up to the plate and do more than her share to help her mother and take care of her siblings. Her mother was unhappy a lot and relied on Saniya for support and understanding. She often confided in Saniya as if she were her own personal therapist or confidant. Her mother would often say, "You are my strong little girl, we need you, and I am so glad I have you to take care of us." She often overheard her mother on the phone telling others these same things. Saniya's mother made her feel that she was strong and should take care of other people. As Saniya grew older, her mother continued to count and rely on her. Their relationship was more like sisters or friends than mother and daughter. When Saniya entered the workplace, her need to self-sacrifice continued as she placed an excessive focus on voluntarily meeting the needs of others around her in daily work situations. She carried most of the workload in the office, and her coworkers were happy to always rely on Saniya to finish up projects while they left early to hang out after work for drinks. She would smile and would say, "No problem," but secretly inside she resented that they never asked her out or stayed late to help. Saniya continued to do everything for her family, including help pay bills, buy her siblings school supplies and Christmas presents, see them off to school, as well as help them with their homework. She was meeting everyone else's needs at the expense of her own. It didn't stop with family or work relationships. When Saniya was old enough to start dating, she quickly would comply and surrender to the needs of her partner. She bent over backwards to cater to her lover's needs. She usually ended up in relationships with emotionally unavailable men who used her for money and anything else they could get from her. Many of her relationships ended with the guy cheating or walking out when he was bored and tired of using her. When Saniya came to counseling, she presented as soft-spoken, shy, and reserved. As sessions progressed, with her therapist's help, she discovered that she was harboring a lot of bitterness and resentment towards her coworkers and exes. As she and her therapist dug into her childhood and how she grew up, Saniya learned that she had a self-sacrifice schema that developed in her childhood from the relationship with her mother. She found out that this schema put her in a position to have an excessive focus on voluntarily meeting the needs of others in daily situations, at the expense of her own gratification. When her therapist pressed her, she would often justify her behavior as not wanting to cause others pain or seem selfish. She insisted that her mother and siblings needed her. She continuously questioned where they would be without her for assistance. She expressed fear over setting boundaries with her mother or siblings, believing that if she did, their relationship would end. Saniya finally made the connection that she was repeating this behavior with her coworkers and her significant others. She realized that she was suffering due to her neglect of her own personal needs, wants, feelings, desires, and emotions. If you have a self-sacrifice schema like Saniya, you place an excessive focus on meeting other people's needs at the expense of your own in order to avoid feeling guilty or selfish. You view people as fragile and have a sensitivity to their pain and suffering. You feel overly responsible for others and end up taking care of and prioritizing others above yourself. You may end up feeling deprived, resentful, and angry in relationships as a result of giving so much. You tend to be attracted to partners who are self-absorbed and demand a lot from you, such as those with an entitlement schema, a mistrust schema, or an emotional deprivation schema. Saniya's coping mode when she felt vulnerable was to become a compliant surrenderer, giving in to the needs of everyone else. She did this out of fear of people leaving her, just as her father had walked out on their family. Her therapist, after educating her more on schema therapy, had her begin recognizing these patterns. She then had Saniya start journaling to and from her inner child. Saniya learned more about practicing self-care, setting boundaries, and becoming assertive, learning how to effectively express and communicate her own feelings, thoughts, wants, needs, and desires. Through imagery rescripting, limited reparenting, and empty chair work, Saniya's therapist helped her work through her excessive need at self-sacrifice and surrender to the people in her life. Saniya began practicing being a good parent to herself by giving herself permission to express herself, have fun, play, laugh, learn, and set boundaries. By the end of their sessions together, Saniya told her therapist that based on their work together she could feel herself growing into a healthy adult.